and then it gets to 65 degrees outside. So thank you all for bearing with us.
And Linda's cold.
No, I'm not cold. Just didn't take my vest off.
I know.
Yeah. So for those who don't know me, I'm Scott Gerlinger. I am your Civic League president. Chris is one of our vice presidents. Our other vice president, Aaron, is out of town. We've got Gray, our treasurer, also running computer duty back there. Liz, there's Brenda. Brenda's is our secretary. Liz is one of our at-large board members. We have our brand new newsletter editor, Carly.
Yay.
All right.
So if you like the newsletter, she did great. And Zach is also a new at-large board member as well. And Dan Graves is our other at-large board member now as of last month. So miss anyone?
Nope.
I think I got it. All
You got
right.
everybody, man.
Good
Roll
deal.
call.
All right. Well, I will start us off with the Pledge of Allegiance then. All right. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and I'll turn it over to you, officer. Good news and bad news.
All right. All right, your crime stats since the last meeting. 200 Avenue, you had a larceny, parts from auto, license plates. 7600 block, Bondale Avenue, larceny of license plates. And then again, 200 block, Birmingham Avenue, larceny of license plates. No longer Cadillac converters, they're going after license plates.
Yeah. Nice change.
7500 block, Newport Avenue, larceny of parts from auto, license plates. Good news is the DMV will replace them, and you just got to make the report. 500 block North Shore Road, you got larceny from auto. There's a work truck. The door was pried open and some items were taken. 100 block West Little Creek Road, larceny other. Victim dropped his wallet at Walgreens. Wallet was stolen. Cards were used. 7500 Granby Street, you have burglary commercial. That's at Quads. Suspect gained entry through a broken window. Broken window got in. Alcohol was stolen. This is the same suspect that was a suspect at the ABC store. So they're still trying to identify him. 7600 block of Granby Street, commercial burglary. This was at the tobacco shop. Front glass door was broken. Some items were taken. 100 block of Burleigh Avenue, at the house everybody loves. You had the aggravated assault. It was cleared by arrest. Officers arrived on scene. Individual was suffering from non-life-threatening stab wound to the abdomen, and suspect was on scene as well and arrested. That's what you've had since your last meeting.
Fun times.
That's it. I really
Huh?
I want them to demo the house.
Oh,
yeah,
everybody wants to
everybody
demo
does.
the house.
You had previously, in years past, when license plate problems, told people to go get the harder to take off bolts. Is that right?
Yeah, so they sell anti-theft.
Everybody, here's a good tip.
Utilized tools. It's kind of like a wheel lock for your wheels, off size. So when they go to take them, they don't have a tool that'll match it. They have those and things like that.
Tamper-proof license plate plates.
Yep, and so you can get those at automotive stores, sell them there. The main thing you want to do is, like, as soon as you notice it, report it to us first, and then go to DMV. And if they only steal one, please be specific, because it'll come up whether it comes up stolen one plate, because we have the license plate readers in the car now. So if the officers are riding around, they only stole the front plate and you reported it, they need to know that, so when they're traveling behind you and things off, that you have a stolen license plate. Typically DMV will have you turn that one in and replace them. So just be cognizant of that. And our officers should be reading whether or not it's one plate stolen or two plates stolen.
And don't forget to contact Easy Pass if that happens.
Yes. For those of you that have not, I have been through it. They were one letter off, and it's kind of a pain. But yes, make sure Easy Pass. If your license plate is attached to your Easy Pass, make sure that you have that change. You can do it online. It's pretty easy, but I suggest make sure you do that. If you
Didn't happen to me.
no. Like no, because I've been through that, and then other people. If you do buy a car and you have your temporary tags, you're supposed to shred them or destroy them. Don't throw them out. People will take them out of the garbage and they'll use them, and that tag is still registered to your car, and they will sending you bills for these holes. And I know there's been citizens that have called me before that have an issue with it. Make sure you destroy your 30-day tags. If you sell a car, do not give them the car with your tag on it. Okay, because they'll leave it on there and they'll rack it up. And guess who's going to be footing the bill?
Yep.
These bridge tunnels, they don't care who owns the car. They don't care if the police department owns the car. They're sending you a bill. I'm serious. So if you sell your car or do anything with your car, if that tag has your name attached to it, then you need to take and turn it into the DMV and get something in return saying you turned it in. Because all the tunnels, all the cameras, the speed enforcement cameras, the red light cameras, you need to be very careful what you do. That tag has got your name on it. That's your tag, and that's all they care. So luckily, like Norfolk, you can go to the precinct and probably talk to somebody. It's relatively easier, but just saying. Personal experience.
So question for that awesome house that's down there. What other measures can we take to, besides codes or whatever we're doing?
If just code enforcement needs to write it up for everybody.
How's that house not burned to the ground yet? That's
Right. It's if everything's up to code and the code enforcement can't do much, so then it's a lengthy process.
Ugliness is not against code,
Are
okay?
you sure?
Yeah. So sometimes a lot of these things they're given a large amount of time to get these things up to code. Even if it goes to court, the courts will give them an extended amount of time to bring it up to code.
Dave owns that property.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
Shy guy.
Yes. The guy who owns that property.
Well,
So think about that if you get there.
anyway, does anybody have anything else for me?
Nope.
All right.
All right. Thank you, officer. Appreciate it.
Thanks, folks. Appreciate it.
All right. So everyone, tonight we have a special guest from the HRBT expansion project. I think I don't even know if it was all of you. I think the last time we had a presentation on the HRBT expansion was in 2019.
Possibly.
So it was
Yeah.
definitely
They told us
pre-pandemic.
it was pre-COVID.
It was
that they
pre-COVID.
came
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just a dream then.
Yeah.
Right? It was.
It's a blip of your imagination.
We
It was
were
all the
getting
vision.
excited.
That's right.
All the vision. So now,
Yeah.
and it was supposed to be done like this year, right?
Yeah.
Wow, we're coming in hot.
There's always but,
Yeah.
Before the year
there's a few hiccups like a pandemic in the middle of it. Anyways, we'll turn to all of you to share with us, because we kind of Ward's Corner sits at one terminus of this project, and I know quite a few people here
Mhm.
make the commute, and whether regularly or
Twice a week. It's awesome.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Banas. I am the project director for VDOT at the HRBT expansion project. As noted here, though, we know you all love HRBT very, very much. You're also probably very concerned and inquisitive about the construction that's happening on 64 from Patrol Road down to Tidewater, because I know that goes through your backyard. So in addition to the HRBT, I brought Bill Eshbaugh here Bill Eschbaugh is an area construction engineer with VDOT. He's in a very similar role. On time, run through this a little bit quickly. We will have time for questions at the end because there's a lot of stuff we'll bring up here. And I know because this is where you live. This is where you work, you live. I'm a Larchmont guy just across the way. I come over here and beat up here all the time with my kids on the weekends. Been to Guad's, not the Saigon place. Spent a lot of time at Guad's in my younger days before kids. So So one of the things we talk about at the HRBT is that we are so much more than just a tunnel project. Now this slide here shows our scope across the area, but also our project goals across the bottom. So it's increasing capacity, easing congestion. And the big thing, and this is where Bill's project comes in to play, is enhancing travel time reliability throughout our entire network here in Hampton Roads. So I always think about the project like I was coming from Hampton, driving on my way back home down here, jumping off at Terminal Boulevard. So up there in Hampton, we have the Mallory Street overpass where we are widening that project. Now, similar to what we're going to talk about from Patrol Road to Tidewater, similar improvements are being made from Mallory Street up to the Coliseum up there in Hampton. And get ready because they're going to start doing similar improvements from the Coliseum all the way up the peninsula past Jefferson Avenue. So all of that is coming into play with the greater good in mind.
What's wrong with that?
So we'll talk about that. There's nothing wrong with it.
Nothing right now.
It's giving us the ability to do more and giving you the ability to do more.
Okay.
We will talk through that, I promise. So for us here at the HRBT, we start up in Mallory Street. We're widening that bridge, widening both the abutments out to allow more capacity underneath and also replacing that structure. We then jump down onto our 2 north trestles. So as you drive that right now, 2 2-lane trestles. In the final configuration, you will have 2 4-lane trestles across the harbor. So the existing ones there will be completely demolished and replaced with new bridges. Then we jump on to our North Island. You jump into our 1 of 2 new tunnels as you're down 2. So that existing infrastructure is not going anywhere. It's extremely important for us in the final configuration. Now, as we jump down onto South Trestle, that bridge, it's almost 6,000 feet long. You know, it's one 6,000 long foot bridge that will be what we refer to as our 8-lane mega trestle. So all of the traffic coming out of Norfolk off the spit will get on that 8-lane trestle. Now, if you drive out there now, if you make you traverse the bay, you can already see we've got 4 lanes built off to the left for a while, and then we widen to that full 8 as it ties into the island. So that work is ongoing and going really, really well for us. We're really excited about that. Last but not least, we jump down to the Norfolk piece, and this is really where, when you think about this, you know, a 9, almost 10-mile project end to end, the majority of our work starts here at the spit and drives us all the way down to Patrol Road. Throughout this entire project, we're widening, rehabilitating, and reconstructing 25 bridges. A lot of those are in Norfolk. So we have West Evans, and I'm horrible with all the names that we go through there, Bayview, Osts, lots of bridges we're touching all throughout Norfolk down here. So we've actually had similar presentations to this up with a lot of those civic leagues because they're right smack dab in the middle of it as well. Now, where we end down there at Patrol Road, that's exactly where Bill and the 118 pick up. So we'll talk through that just a little bit more. So the HRBT, we are a design build project. We were contracted back in 2019 with a full notice to proceed there in 2020. As somebody mentioned earlier, just when things are changing, right? Just when the world changed. My oldest was born in the spring of 2020. I've never figured out if it was COVID or having my first child, but I can tell you something is different since then. We're never going back to how it was. So as at $3.9 billion, the HRBT, we are the largest construction project in VDOT's history. So you can think of 495 and 95 and 66 and all the things they've done everywhere else. We by far are the largest project they have ever had right here in Hampton Roads. And the reason for that comes back to our funding. So how many of you are familiar with HRTAC, Hampton Roads Transportation Accountability Commission? How about HRTPO, Transportation Planning Organization, or PDC, Planning and Development? They're who develop a lot of our codes around here. So HRTAC, that is made up of all of the mayors, elected leaders here in the Hampton Roads region. So whatever makes that up, I think there's 18 voting members of that. So it's the mayors of all the cities down here, board of supervisors, county supervisors, they are members. What happened back in 2013 is the General Assembly we got smart down here and we said, hey, we want money to build our roads down here in Hampton Roads. And we all know we've been talking about HRBT for decades. I've been down here, I go to all parts of the state. So 0.7% sales tax gets collected here, sent to Richmond, and then directly back to where the HR TAC board, your mayors, your local electeds, they are charged with using that for projects of regional significance. So think $100 million and bigger here in Hampton Roads. And we've had a heck of those. Widenings on the peninsula, all three of those, on 64-264 interchange, high-rise bridge coming from that tax. So I hate going to Harris Teeter right here and spending more money in taxes, but we at least get the benefit of the money that we're spending is coming directly back into the roads that we drive every single day. So if I've got to do something, I'll take that any day of the week. So with that, we are not like Elizabeth River, ERC that you're familiar with, paying that toll down there. All of the money that will be collected as a result of this facility goes directly back to HR TAC to pay down debt service and to continue operation and maintenance of that facility. So when we look at HR TAC, right, because of this tax, they know about what they generate in a year. No different than you take your pay stub to the bank and say, hey, I want a mortgage. They've taken that tax revenue and said, hey guys, look, Mr. Lender, I've got X amount of $1 million a year coming in. I want to take out a mortgage to build a couple tunnels here. So that's exactly what they're doing. So all of that money that we put in comes directly back here. That tolling, we'll get into the tolling in a little bit because that goes into what's happening further up on the peninsula. That tolling does two things. One, it helps pay down debt. It's not the main driver of paying down the debt. But what it really allows us to do is take that existing HOV capacity that's only designated for HOVs and turn it into a hot lane to where if you are a single rider, you can pay a fee to use that lane. Otherwise, you couldn't. So that is the additional capacity we're providing if you want to pay a fee. The one thing I will say about all of this, I live here too. My wife's driving my kids all over creation, right? You will always have the same capacity you have today for the same price you pay today, which is nothing. The added capacity we're giving will give you, if you have yourself and one person in there, additional capacity. But if you're in a rush and you want to arrive on time, right, that enhanced travel time reliability, you can pay the fee and jump in that lane if you so choose. That is the biggest thing about this project. You are not losing any capacity throughout the corridor. So this video right here, this shows you what the project will look like across the HRBT. Now we stop shy of down here in Ward's Corner because that's what we're really going to show you, but similar concept throughout the rest of the corridor. So we're going to start up on the Hampton side and work our way back to Norfolk. Doesn't like us tonight.
Doesn't like us tonight.
Doesn't like us tonight. Doesn't like us tonight. Okay. That's all right. Well, you know, that's okay. We're going to continue to talk through it. So what that video will ultimately show you is it shows you starting off in Hampton, working your way south, all of the improvements we have, which is going to be 4 lanes in each direction, right? You'll have the ability for the majority of the time to have those 4 lanes in each direction. It shows our 2 new tubes, shows the expanded islands, it shows those new bridges. And 2 things we really like to point out on the HRBT expansion portion of the project, which here is in this lime green right here, we are impacting right-of-way as minimally as possible. This is a project that has been surfaced in the early 90s, early 2000s, about 2010, and all of those times it was killed because we were impacting too much right-of-way. As a result of our project, we're impacting 3 parcels. We're borrowing 15,000 square feet from Hampton University to give it back. We are removing a homeowner's dock who the city let build their dock in VDOT right-of-way under one of our bridges. So we're all friends. We're just removing it. And then the project purchased the Willoughby Spit, the very tip of the spit. It was that old development where they were going to do housing. The project has bought that. And at the end of the day, that land likely will have some good public use, we hope. And when I say public use, maybe a park or be turned back to the city or sold at a cost that can roll back into fund future projects. So we talk about HRELN, and this is where Bill comes into play with a lot of our cohorts at VDOT. We start up here, Jefferson or LaSalle Avenue, all the way down. That is what we call segment 4AB. That is just being contracted to be underway here, I think later this year. Is it later this year or early next year, Bill?
It's later this year.
Later this year. So at the end of the day, you will be able to jump on up at Patrick Henry Field, right there, Newport News Airport, and be able to, if you choose, pay a fee or ride HOV +1 or a single +1 from the airport all the way down to Bowers Hill. a 45-mile network of continuous lanes. So through that network, it's dynamically priced, meaning that if congestion is really high, the price goes up. Because the idea of these lanes, right, they were originally constructed with federal money that they would be HOV compliant. So we are required for HOVs to keep them at a specific speed limit. And we're going to go with, I think it's 50 miles an hour, Bill. I think that's about, it's 45 or 50 miles an hour. It's right in there. So how we do that is to keep out the single rider, right? We raise that price. So then they say, well, I can't afford to do this. I'm going to get off there. Then our HOV passengers can continue to travel at a reliable speed. Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to jump in real quick now. So if I'm coming in from here, but I'm going to get off, can you get off at certain segments?
Yes.
Or is it like a?
Yes, ma'am. You have ingress, egress ramps throughout the corridor.
And,
Absolutely.
And will it be told at certain segments?
Yes,
so you
ma'am.
know, okay.
Yes, so you only pay for what you use. You're not gonna, if you get on once, you're only gonna use for that segment. So you go all 45 miles, if you go 3 miles, 4 miles, and those segments, as we continue to roll this out further, that will be something that we do a really big outreach and education campaign throughout the region.
Just like yours, like in Northern Virginia.
Absolutely. That in a little bit. 1B, another project that will take you from the end of Bill's Air Tidewater Drive all the way down to the 264 interchange. That's upcoming. And then we also have the work that's already been done from the 264 interchange going anywhere. We're very confident in our ability to deliver this. And when we are done, because we will do this, it is going to be life-changing for folks. I know on the weekends, if I've got to run somewhere on the peninsula, I think twice. I check my phone. Do I really want to go now?
Yeah.
That's not going to be a concern that we have any longer. We're not going to be going out to Suffolk and going up Monitor Mountain.
He has to believe in his word.
So a little bit about tunneling in Hampton Roads, because we are here to talk about HRBT, right? We're more than a tunnel project, but that's pretty darn cool. What's really interesting about VDOT and what we have here in the Hampton Roads region is the massive collection of immersed tube tunnels that we have. We own 350-foot concrete pipe, no different than what they're laying out here in the street. It's about 30 feet high, 40 feet wide. Then we build temporary bulkheads in. We dredge a channel in the bottom, just like we would dredge the channel, right, for ships. We immerse that segment in place. We put some rocks and fill over top. We do that maybe 10, 11, 12 times. We had Elizabeth River tunnels. We did it 11 times to get across the river. Break out those bulkheads and you've got a tunnel, right? We've done that 10 times here. We are actually, VDOT is a world leader in that, being that in 1957, the HRBT facility in the world to do that between two artificial islands, between the South Island and the North Island. So VDOT's used to being on the cutting edge. But with that immersed tube tunnel, right, that dredging, it's really challenging in some environments. So as you can imagine, here out in the channel, we've got to worry about quite a few things. We've got the Port of Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Navy, right? They don't like telling us too often when their ships come through. And we also have recreational boaters. I know I have a boat, I get in people's way all the time, right? So we all know we're impacting that. So there are a lot of things that we have to take into consideration. So a little bit about our port here, a couple stats I didn't know until walking in time right here in Hampton Roads, 15 military installations. So you can appreciate why that channel is so important. On top of that, you have 8,000 regulated ship movements that go across that channel every single year. So if we're out in that channel dredging across the bottom, we're interrupting that traffic flow. We have to stop, get out of the way, let the Navy go through, let a cargo ship go through, becomes really challenging. On top of that, it's the spacer casting. So those big tubes, we typically do that in dry dock. That's not cheap space. You guys probably noticed downtown Norfolk in the last couple of years, we had the Staten Island Ferry down here. They got plenty of dry docks up further east, but it's just a heck of a lot more expensive up there. So to tie that real estate up and fabricate tubes or tunnels, it can be extremely expensive. I already talked about our mares, also our tides and weather. So as we're dredging that channel across the bottom, we get a nor'easter that blows in, we get a really heavy tide cycle, we get a super tide, king tide, we can disturb that grading. So it takes us about 3 weeks to grade out the bottom, to get it within about a 1-inch tolerance to immerse a tunnel segment. So at Midtown, we had a segment, we were ready to immerse after about 2 weeks, storm came through, we were back to square one, start all over. So when we look at the Hampton Roads region, we have to consider not only the great opportunities we have, right, with anybody in the world. What happens if we do something a little bit different? What happens if we pay homage to that and recognize the challenges that we have? And that brings us to Mary. So Mary, named in honor of Mary Jackson, famous NASA here out of the movie Hidden Figures. Everybody ever seen that?
Yeah.
Okay, I never watched it until I came onto the project about a year ago. Shame on me. Great Virginia local history there. But that is who our TBM is named after. I promise it's appropriate. We name our TBMs after females because the patron saint of minors are after females in that same homage. We actually reached out to a local school groups here, all the schools throughout Virginia or Hampton Roads area, and asked them to tell us who we should name this machine after. This came from St. Gregory the Great. Got it right.
Yeah.
So pretty darn cool that we get to pay homage to that. Another thing very interesting, the Hampton Roads regional flag. Anybody know about that? Yeah, I had no idea. I've been here almost 13 years. So the Hampton Roads regional flag, the green, the pastures of Virginia, the blue, the sky, the white, the water that unites us, and a star for each one of those municipalities that make up Hampton Roads. Again, HRTAC, Hampton Roads Transportation Accountability Commission, we're representing those municipalities. So we put that flag on our cutter head here, as you can see stars representing those same communities. At 46 feet in diameter, so that's bigger than a 2-story house, massive piece of equipment. Mary is the second largest TBM ever used in North America. The only one larger than her was Bertha out in Seattle. If everybody's ever heard about her, she didn't maybe have the best history, so we hope that we do a little bit better than she does along the way. Has anybody here heard about the tunnel boring machine that hit an anchor locally? Yes, that's not us. That's not us. That's that Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel.
Oh.
So I had the pleasure of working at CBBT for about 4 or 5 years before coming over here to HRBT. That is not us. On our project, we refer to those as yard decorations or hooks with eyes. We do not use the word anchor on our project. We have found one yard decoration, but it was off to the side, had nothing to do with mining. So we're very fortunate from that perspective. So Mary, in all 430 feet long, she will be the first bored tunnel for VDOT. Remember, all of those to date have been ITTs, and CBBT is not a VDOT facility. They're an independent subdivision of the Commonwealth. They're a city, essentially. That's how CBBT operates. The beautiful thing about this, no impacts to navigable waterways, minimal impacts to the traveling public, and we're continuously operating. So Mary is fully electrically powered. She uses about 10 megawatts of power, or the equivalent power that about 6,000 homes consume on a daily basis. So a heck of a lot of equipment, a heck of a lot of power to drive this machine as she's beneath the earth. So we talk a little bit, folks, on what is it gonna look like at the end of the day? How is this different than an ITT, right? An immersed tube tunnel. So here are 2 existing immersed tube tunnels. You can see we've got the water here, relatively shallow. Once we immerse those segments, we come back and we put anywhere from 8 to 15 feet of fill. We always have to be mindful of where the channel is there, right? We want to have a deep channel here in Hampton Roads, keep our harbor competitive. So you can see a little bit differently for our 2 new tubes over here. One, they're round, right? They're not rectangular, and that's because we're mining in a circle. Second, they're a heck of a lot offset and a heck of a lot deeper, right? And we're still leaving from the existing islands. So we do this for 2 reasons. We do this offset and this depth. We offset them first and foremost because we don't want to disturb these existing tunnels. So my easiest way to equate this is, I have to be careful. My dad's an old man. I think about my dad at the end of the day when he sat down in that easy chair, he's relaxed, right? He's comfortable, he's had a long day, and somebody comes around and kicks him, right? You get a little creak, you get a little leak, something starts happening. We don't want that to happen to our existing tunnels, right? You've got to use these in the final configuration. They have to go on for a heck of a long time in front of us.
I start seeing water in the tunnel. I'm trying to think through.
They're not leaking.
Well, no, wait a
They're not
second.
leaking. VDOT has done a phenomenal job maintaining these tunnels. They're not leaking. Trust me.
I thought all tunnels inherently leaked, and
Well,
that's
yeah.
why you have the pump systems in them to.
Tunnel, you know, 2 things happen, or 3 things happen, right? It's gonna crack, and tunnels are gonna have a little bit of water.
Right, that's what I meant.
And the things we try to do with tunnels and water is we minimize it, and we put it to area you can control, so you never see it on the road. I can tell you, before coming down here, I worked on Manhattan subways for a few years. Our goal there was, when they were leaking on the platform, all we did is we injected cracks until the water got into the tunnel where you couldn't see it as a passenger. That was success. So all tunnels leak. We just try to make it as minimal as possible. Our existing tunnels, very, very, very dry by modern standards. Remember, they were constructed in the 50s and the 70s. So in addition to being offset, because we don't want to disturb them, we're also deeper. Deeper allows it silt, and you always know you're there when you see shell coming up. So we want to see a little bit of seashells. We're down. So at our deepest point, as this mentions, 100 invert. So among friends here, 46 feet. We'll call it 50 to the top. So that puts us about 123. And as you can see, we're about 72 feet. So we got about 50 feet of earth. And that's important because you can imagine, just like taking a beach ball and holding underwater, it wants to pop back up. These tunnels want to naturally float. It's a big phenomenon we always have to fight. So that overburden allows us to prevent them from wanting to pop up. So it's extremely important for us to have that overburden. So that's the exterior, the interior, right? The part that you're going to see every single day. And if you've been through the existing or the new Midtown Tunnel, very similar configuration. The biggest difference is that we've got this arched opening over the top because, again, we're round. Those are rectangular. We have our egress corridor here on the outside. So in the event of an emergency, you would get out of your vehicle. You would go over to what looks like a big meat locker door. You slide that door open, and as you do that, you are hit in the face with a blast of air. And that's because it's pressurized, because there's smoke behind you. We don't want that smoke getting into that egress corridor. So you get in there, you shut that door. Now you're in a safe environment, and you exit to either one of our portals. So both tunnels will have this. In addition, it's kind of a shame when we've been down in it, and we'll show you some photos, but the bottom 10 and a half, 12 feet of that tunnel are just completely filled in with ballast. We got to get up to a roadway surface, right? So we're going to fill in about a third of that tunnel. In the top of the cross section there, not pictured here, but you have jet fan ventilation, just like the new tunnels or the rehabs in the downtown. Absolutely. At the bottom, this material here for both tunnels, it would be about 15,000 truckloads of material. Thankfully, we're mixing that on site. And the one that always gets me, that it's a hard number to believe, is 1 million square feet of tile. Now, I live in Larchmont, so if you know that means I live in an old house. Yeah. And about 8 years ago, I renovated our kitchen. When I told my wife it was going to be 1 million square feet of tile, she asked me how many decades it was going to take her, because she knew how long it took me to finish our backsplash. Heck of a lot of tile. Heck of a down. So it comes down into durability, it comes down into choices. So remember, Midtown's also a concession, so they have to turn that in a specified condition. Okay. That is a completely acceptable solution. Just remember, they're going to maintain it for a while. They may have to come back and tile. They may have to replace that pro mat. So by doing tile, it's a more durable surface, so we can go and clean it. The other thing that we really like tile for, if you notice even that pro mat over there in the Midtown, one of the reasons we have to clean it all the time is we need that reflectivity, because our lighting is based on that. So if it's really dirty and absorbing that light, you don't see quite as well. So VDOT, through their experience, has said that tile, working up to about the top of the traffic envelope, that's what they prefer to do through their experience. So we talked through what the tunnel is going to look like. Now we want to just step through what our project progress is to date before I turn it over to Bill to allow him to walk through what's going on in the 1A corridor. So starting up here at the Mallory Street interchange, you can see we've already started widening this bridge. This bridge deck is actually poured now. We did that earlier in January. Right here, this is one of our substations. We said Mary uses 10 megawatts of power. Keep in mind, 10 megawatts of power, that's a heck of a lot, but it's not just temporary. Permanent configuration, pumps, jet fans, lighting, a lot more services coming online we have to use that power for. We're also doing that widening there in the middle. You can see a lot of that coming online right now. Now to the west of that, that is that other project similar to 1A, that's 4C going further up the peninsula. Our north trestle, great view. Now this is looking back towards Hampton there, because we want to stay in our existing footprint. We don't want to steal right of way. And we have to demolish the existing bridge before we can finish that out. So here later this spring, you will be driving on this bridge. You will get on this new bridge, but you will then divert right here back into the existing tunnel. So new bridge, not a new tunnel. And that's coming yet here this spring. Now you can also see our new westbound bridge is already coming out of the water between the two existing. So as we move traffic onto this bridge, we can demolish the existing, allow us to finish here, as well as start building our new westbound bridge. Again, 2 4-lane bridges up on the north side.
But can I just, on the new bridge, how much side shoulder to the edge?
Full shoulder on either.
Oh, really?
Yes,
okay.
sir. Yes.
Wow.
I have one other quick question. So for like trucks, I know it's difficult to come in, what is it, the westbound?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, has all that been solved?
That is so we, as part of our project at HRBT, we are not resolving that problem. What we are doing is adding capacity so that at a future time, VDOT will have the additional capacity to solve that problem. because you can't stop trucks from going, right? We can't just shut down the two right now
Right.
because we only have one then. So we're adding capacity, and as a follow-on project in the coming years, VDOT will address that overheight issue. Now, the advantage right now, trucks can't come westbound, right? They have a hard time coming back westbound.
Right.
They will have the existing eastbound tube to travel westbound in to help resolve some of that issue. So VDOT is very much looking to tackle that challenge, but it's a multifaceted issue. There are some interim solutions in place, but ultimately it's going to require us to either lower the invert or raise the ceiling, both of which can be done. They just take a lot of time and planning. First, we have to have additional capacity to put the traffic on when we make those modifications. So as we jump here to North Island, one thing we didn't have a chance to point out earlier, this portion of North Island, this is a brand new portion of the island, about 15 acres that we had to create. Here you can see where you start to dive down into what will be the open approach for the new tunnel. Here, this is our receiving pit. This is where Mary will break through right here because Mary's starting in Norfolk going to Hampton. And then this next photo, two really good purposes. This right here helps give you a perspective of how large Mary's diameter is. This is where Mary will break out. We will rotate her 180 degrees and then put her back in using that frame. That frame right there is ultimately a seal. So we'll pour concrete around that. It's a temporary steel seal that we will align Mary to at the end of the day. Now this right here, we did, we're doing record-setting things already at the HRBT, let alone mining. Earlier, or late last year, rather, right before Thanksgiving, 5,480 cubic yards, almost 600 concrete trucks in 31 hours. I've been down here, like I said, almost 13 years. I've never seen logistics come together like this. VDOT's largest continuous concrete port in Commonwealth history. Pretty darn cool achievement going on in our backyard with a lot of people that we call neighbors. There's a lot of pride going into this facility. A lot of local workforce on this. We're very proud of the.
You have those concrete plants right there on site.
We do,
right?
absolutely. That's been a huge help. Absolutely.
Do you have a rough time frame when she'll break through there?
To that,
You gotta wait.
You want to cut to the chase.
So here, this is South Island. So one of the things we didn't mention here, because we're a little bit abbreviated, but just as important as Mary is all of Mary's backup equipment. So this here is where we produce slurry that we use to remove the spoils from the excavation, bring them to the surface, separate liquids from soils. Extremely important infrastructure. This here, so if you can imagine, we are looking north, so the Navy base is over here. This is looking back, like we're looking up towards Richmond. This is where Mary broke in. This will be your new where we will drive up and out on to our South Island to come down to the Willoughby Spit. So that yellow membrane there, that's waterproofing membrane. Again, back to we want to keep these tunnels as watertight as we can. You can already see rebar and concrete being poured on these exterior walls as we raise that up out of the ground. Initially, this was a pit that was about 80 feet in depth. We excavated. Now remember, 80 feet in depth doesn't sound like a lot. That's the water right there.
Yeah.
So you're fighting 80 feet of head. Extremely, extremely challenging construction. Now, as we leave and start heading back to the spit, you can see up there in front of us, this is probably our trickiest piece of construction. Here is our 8-lane mega trestle. So that is fully 8 lanes wide right there. But as we come in, we have to branch off to the existing tunnels. To do that, we have to construct temporary trestle. So that's a temporary trestle. This right here, this is a temporary trestle we started driving on about a year ago, if you recall. This is the demolished existing eastbound structure. We do this so that we can come back and build in that ultimate capacity, right? Island expansion is expensive. We want to minimize that to the best of our ability. I got a little nostalgic when we started pulling apart the existing eastbound bridge, and our comms team and our traffic team ran that down. About 800 million vehicles traverse this facility, traverse that bridge, that one direction during its lifetime. Pretty darn cool piece of history. So here's our South Marine trestle. Again, that mega trestle, you can see where we have to step it down because we ultimately have to come in here and demolish the 2 existing bridges to tie it into the spit. If you've driven through, I can't explain it any better than what you've seen with your own eyes. It's higher, it's super elevated, gets us out of the splash zone for salt. We don't like salt on our bearings. That super elevation helps with drainage because at the end of the day, you're going to be driving at interstate speeds on this thing, right? You're going to need that. You're going to need that traction.
So it's not elevation, but I mean banked.
Oh,
Correct.
it's
Yep.
based.
What's the angle?
That's what I'll get back to you on.
You're not
Try to
gonna
remember.
lie.
Come on.
Can't remember.
Try the speed limit.
Yeah.
Here there was an existing ramp. We built a new ramp, demolished the existing, and now we're widening. So eventually you'll have girders going all the way here through there to handle that widening. West Evans is a perfect example. We love to widen on the outside. But when you run out of space, maybe you just widen to the inside so we're not impacting these property owners. Remember, 25 bridges, structures, things along the way in here. Heck of a lot of work we're doing. We're a heck of a lot more than a tunnel project, right? But, so this is a look at the inside and some of the workings of the tunnel. So we started in April 2023. A 1-year evolution is expected. So if you do the math, 1 year, I think April's only like a month away, right? So we're getting close. 2 months, getting close. Here, this is our quay. That's where we bring in all of our segments. Really great story. We reopened a precast facility in Cape Charles. Vehicle carrying a stack of segments down into our tunnel. We're going to talk about what our are here in just a minute. Here you can see our erector arm where we are erecting segments as we are building our tunnel. So rather than 350 feet in length, right, one tube after another, we're doing this ring by ring, 6 feet, 6 inches at a time. And if I can knock this thing apart, give you guys a little bit of a view here.
Oh my God.
It's going to fall. I can feel it. It's going to go. Brooke, catch it.
Yeah.
So this is what one of our rings looks like as it goes in, and that's to scale, so give you a better idea. So if you were standing outside, right, Mary, 46 feet in diameter, so she is wider, she is bigger than what this is. This ring is 44.5 feet. Interior from the ground to the ceiling, 41.5 feet, and you're standing inside of this excavation. So what does that look like? This. Pretty darn amazing. So you can see here, these are 2 average height men. I'm a little bit bigger than the average guy. So we say average height man. You can see here, this is our MSV backing into the back of Mary. That's the beauty about Mary. She is bigger than the ring she's leaving. I said 40, if this is Mary, right? 46 feet in diameter. These rings are only 44.5 feet. Mary is a one-way endeavor. She can never go backwards. She is straightforward all the way. The reason for that is that our staff work completely enclosed in Mary. They never see the earth. So it's a very clean operation for us underground. Our best day has happened earlier this year, and it was about February 7th or 8th. We had 107 feet in one day. Our best week is a little bit over 330 feet. We think we can get 60 rings in 1 week. To date, as we stand today, that was as of about 9 a.m. this morning. If I go back and look at those numbers, they're probably a little bit higher, but 936 rings. Our first tunnel will be 1,191 rings to get across. So about 79% of the way there. But we're in the good stuff. We're good material. We're on our way uphill. We're making really good progress right now. I'm very proud.
So the rings are completed as Mary's going through.
As Mary moves forward. So here is a view of our ring. So this is looking at Mary, right? Her cutter head, she is bigger around than what our tunnel is. So those hydraulic rams that you can see coming off here, right? They're pushing off the previously erected segments. So what Mary does, Mary here in my right hand with her cutter head that rotates, she is the white piece. As Mary moves forward, still encased within that ring, Mary makes space for the next ring. Her rams become fully extended, right? So then what we do is pair by pair, we bring those jacks in. We take one of these segments, remember 9 segments for every 1 ring. We put a new segment in, then Mary retracts or pushes back on that segment. Now she can't go quite as far, right? Because she's got that segment there. We do that fully around the perimeter, and then Mary can advance forward. So ring by ring, 6 feet, 6 inches at a time, Mary caterpillars herself across the bottom of the bay. Those segments are what she pushes off of to propel herself forward. So the big thing is, before we turn it over to Bill, because it's one of my favorite parts, but do you know how you steer a 10 million pound TBM? Carefully. That's, I like that. So ultimately, it comes down to is these rings aren't actually 6 feet 6 inches in diameter, or in width rather. They're 6 feet 6 at the narrowest part on the bottom, and they're 6 feet 8 on the top. Every ring we put in that tunnel is exactly the same. They're identical, made out of identical molds. With that difference, what that allows you to do is if you stack the rings sequentially the same, all of the small parts on the bottom, it wants to start to curve. You can see that, right? But if we want to go straight, all we have to do is rotate how we lock those rings together, their orientation, and then all of a sudden I have a straight tunnel. So by doing this, I can dive up, left, down, right, center. It's not like if you think typically when we install things, right, water mains, things like that, all we do is we just open a joint a little bit, right? We deflect it, just cheat, just flush it up. We can't do that, right? We're under 80, 85, 87 PSI. We've got water pressure trying to come in from all angles. We've got to compress those gaskets on our segments. So by having this, what we call a universal ring that's slightly different in diameter across its face, it allows us to do that quite successfully. So something that's probably one of the smallest nuances, but I think probably one of the coolest there, that it's 2 inches is what we can turn at every single ring. And we can do a heck of a lot of that geometry as we move throughout the foam. So each one of these segments, they weigh about 10 tons, 20,000 pounds. You can see black steel reinforcing here around the perimeter. We use steel fiber reinforcement in the middle. Steel fiber reinforcement, if you think of a bobby pin, you got laying around your house, cut it in half, so you got 2 legs. Thousands of those that we disperse into the concrete, and that allows us to have strength and resilience throughout the way. Remember, perfect circle, this operates in compression, so those bobby pins, that steel reinforcement, only needed during the erection sequence.
So once that final ring is completed with compression,
Exactly
it
right.
strengthens that ring.
Absolutely. Yep. Earth pressure is our friend. So with that, I've run long, but you guys have been engaged, so I hope that's okay. I do want to turn it over to Bill here because I want Bill to talk about things near and dear to your heart. Now, I'll still be here, can answer questions when Bill's done or at the end of your meeting, either way. But we do want to make sure that we're giving you guys the opportunity to ask the questions from the folks who are helping deliver this
The video
infrastructure.
never came up?
No, but I can show it a different
Okay.
way. When Bill's done, I'll show it on my computer.
Good.
I can show it on my computer.
Yeah, I want to see.
Yep, I got you. Go ahead, Bill.
Could you imagine being me right now?
I know.
Ryan's amazing. He's really good and hopes to have that amazing project. So he mentioned the Hampton Roads Road project. Well, hello. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about HREL segment 1A. That is the project that is right out your doorstep, and where things are starting to ramp up. When we were here last October, we were just barely getting started, just putting a few cones and barrels out, and now, as you can see, being around the area, there's a lot more work going on and a lot more disruption. So I just wanted to give you the update on what's going on and kind of what you see out there, how long it's going to be in that condition. So as Ryan mentioned a few times, we're starting up here at Patrol Road and coming down to just past Tidewater. So it's just a little over 2 miles. And the scope as part of the HREL network is to add, for this segment, we have the reversible lanes that will continue to operate. What we're taking is we're going to take the inside shoulder on both westbound and eastbound I-64, and that's going to be a part-time shoulder express lane. And what that'll do is that'll provide some continuity between Chesapeake segments of the express lanes and the HRBT segments of the express lanes. So no matter what direction you're traveling, you'll have an express lane option. The quickest way to think about it is whichever direction the Navy is traveling, it's the opposite shoulder that will be active for the express lane. So in the morning, everybody is going to Naval Station Norfolk using the express lanes to the west. The eastbound shoulder express lane will be operating, and the westbound shoulder express lane will be closed. So it's a little bit complicated, but as we mentioned, there'll be a lot of, before it opens, there'll be a lot of outreach, a lot of education, a lot of chances to ask those types of questions. You know, where can I get in? Where can I get out? How much is it going to cost? What does the green arrow mean? What does the red X mean? Those types of things that we'll get to over the next couple of years. So that's the scope on the express lane, on the I-64. But in order to do that, add that shoulder, we need to do some widening. So that widening also includes widening the bridges. So eastbound, we have bridge overpasses over Granby Street, I-564, Little Creek Road, and Tidewater. So 1, 2, 3, 4 bridges in the eastbound direction. Now those bridges are all going to be widened. And so that's what you're seeing a lot of now if you've been out on Little Creek Road or Granby or even Tidewater now, you're starting to see some barrels, some cones, less lanes going through all times of the day. And that is for the widening of those bridges. And that's where we start here. So we're beginning that phase 1 construction eastbound and westbound, and that's where we're seeing the Tidewater Drive and Little Creek Road impacts, as well as Granby. So our current impacts that we want to highlight for you here is what's going on Little Creek Road, Tidewater Drive, and Granby. So As they widen those bridges, they need to dig new excavations for new piers. The foundations that are now in the median on Little Creek or Granby, we need to widen those. We need to add more of those in order to widen the bridge. So that's resulting in lane closures to the inside. Now, once those middle piers are completed, they have to go do the piers on the outside. So that's going to mean the traffic is then going to move back to the inside lanes. So most of that work is going to take place over this coming year, from now until early 2025. So that is when phase 2 construction begins. And from then, they're working mostly on Interstate 64 in the median. So a lot of the impacts to the local roads, Granby, Little Creek, Tidewater, will be a lot reduced starting into 2025. There will still be single lane closures during the daytime as they're allowed by the city during that time, but there will be some impacts to the local roads as we get going here. One of the earliest activities that we'll see here in the next couple of months will be a water line replacement. So right now, the existing 100-year-old water line on Granby and Little Creek is right where part of our bridge widening needs to happen. So before they can get in and widen the bridges, they need to relocate that water line. So that's kind of one of the current utility relocations.
Right in the
that's
middle
underway.
of Granby and Little Creek,
So
right at Ward's Corner intersection?
yeah, not at Granby and Little Creek, under these overpasses.
Under these
So-
overpasses,
so-
okay, thank you.
So that's a good point. So Granby and Little Creek is an intersection. I hear you on that.
Okay,
What we're talking about, the overpasses over Granby
Right,
and over
okay.
Little Creek is where this water line is it's in the way of the widening, so it needs to be relocated.
Yeah, new water.
Think about that.
along with everyone in town.
Yeah.
In other words, before they break.
Yeah, those are 16-inch water mains, so those are
Yeah.
big and those
Yes,
are
they
important.
are.
So, one thing I wanted to mention also, we've got Dominic and Trina. They're from the contractor Alan Myers. They're here tonight with me. So as we go through, if there's any questions, I might call them to help me out a little bit. So here's a little more detail about Granby Street. Traffic will be reduced to one lane in both directions from now until early 2025. So again, we have the water line relocation, additional utility work, and we're also widening the I-64 East Bridge over Granby Street. Similar on Little Creek Road, that traffic will be reduced from 3 lanes to 2 lanes in both directions for the same amount of time, same type of work. And then also for Tidewater Drive, if you head out that way, there will be traffic reduced to 1 lane in each direction for, again, the same time frame. This is all this phase 1 work for our project is widening I-64 to the outside. Once phase 1 is complete in early 2025, traffic will be moved to that new sections, and then we'll finish up our project working on the inside
So that's gonna
of
happen.
64.
So Granby Street's gonna happen like
It's
now.
already
already
happening.
It's already
Yeah.
happening. So if
Okay,
you
right.
went
Terminal that way. You can go east or west, no problem, coming out that way versus going down Granby to get onto the interstate. Right?
Yeah.
Right, and kind of get out to the interstate. So it was a little hectic for everybody kind of going, and you just didn't know
This-
what's happening until it's bam in your
Which
face.
location was this?
Coming out, like turning a Little Creek down to Granby, going up underneath the overpass, because you
Yeah,
have the
and-
lane block there. It's you're like, there needs to be a sign.
On Granby or on,
It's on
On the
Granby, it's
interstate.
like you're going to the base over there, right? But it's right by the cemetery. So there
Right.
needs to be a sign prior to going underneath that overpass to say it's merging, because you don't know till you're already.
at Granby
there.
Street exit, in other
Yeah.
words. So you have the combination of people coming under.
There's no forewarning ahead of time.
It's really
So more
hairy
signage
getting on
closer to the ramp.
64
More signage
eastbound
Before
from-
you get underneath the overpass, like right there at Admiral Tossing, you need a
So,
sign
but-
saying it's gonna merge right there.
Liz, somewhere like by like the post office,
Yes.
prior to going underneath.
Or Admiral Tossing right there, the section, there needs to be a sign there.
And it's really hairy getting on 64 east on, from Little Creek.
Yes, it always has been. Yeah.
It's, you've got like 3 lanes, you're just down to 2 and 3 are blocked off. And the distance to get on isn't enough to merge over because all those people are trying to get off on Tidewater. So that's
Yeah.
a real problem right there.
It is, go back to this slide here, to widen these bridges. I mean, it is, I hear you. This is an incredible challenge for us too, to try to fit all of this construction in such a tight area.
Yeah, I think it's
I mean-
like she said, just not enough signage
Yeah.
to merge.
Well, I mean, we're going to continue to look and monitor that, and that, I know that's kind of like the government's answer, but honestly, you know, we're here because, not because I picked this project, but I'm here to help make it as
Yeah,
good for
yeah,
you,
no,
for y'all
sure.
as
And
possible.
I noticed coming westbound and you want to get off on Tidewater, there were just all these barrels and I didn't know where to go to get off.
Oh,
Now I
went
noticed they
between
have
the
the
barrels.
concrete, I did too. But now they have that concrete barrier.
I was like,
Yeah,
ew.
And then to get off, it's like a 90 degrees.
Yeah.
so it's time where you had striping, but you had barrels, but no barrier, and now you've got barrier. It is tight. So obviously, you know, the best thing for everybody that's driving there is to slow down. You know,
Yeah.
keep your
And that's
eyes
good
up.
for us, but it's the people coming from Hampton and all over, they don't know.
Yeah.
We're
You
just
know?
lucky. We do have an option to either take terminal and get on the interstate
Yeah.
or go down Fall, in my opinion. to
Yes,
get on the interstate
and jump on at
avoid
Tidewater
this
Drive,
whole
exactly.
situation up here for a while.
So I think what you're hearing though is we can talk about MOT and better awareness in the section is what we're
Yeah.
hearing from you guys.
Yes.
I think that's
Yeah.
we can relate to.
And the Tidewater Drive going east, that south exit, people are going there to get the kids to school. Because sometimes I have child
Understood, yes.
We'll make a note.
Tidewater on Tidewater
We'll
Drive.
just
We'll make a
say-
note.
And maybe it just is part of this, and this kind of feedback and we're always right. But sometimes the streets and the trees are just not where, no. I mean, what I mean is we engineer the standards because that's what was seen in it, when a manual in a book, when we get it in the field, we have to go back and adapt. But I know as Bill and their team are in this, in the operation of installing this and seeing this, your feedback helps. When you send an email, when you make a phone call, hopefully you guys appreciate that we're also trying to figure this out. But you share that with us, that's input that we can go back and look into those things, because just like me getting here tonight, I got off going Tidewater Drive south, and man, I hit that corner there, like, wow, that's a little bit tight there. So
Yeah,
that feedback is helpful for us because you're people that drive it every single day. You're absolutely right. We
Yeah,
have a
the
heck of a lot of folks.
Tidewater North is no acceleration.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, you just over there, then you got 5 to get off.
So I'm confident that as a result of these discussions and other feedback that's provided, we do go back and now I will say sometimes additional signs feel like the answer, and makes sense for the area that we're in.
Yeah.
So we do appreciate that.
And I think for
Just
us,
that
it's just a
one
lot of
spot,
changes real
yeah.
fast lately.
It's been a while.
And
Yeah.
we try not to be too reactive because it is so new.
Yeah.
People need a little bit of chance to adjust. If we consistently tweak and make changes all the time, then nobody's going to get used to it. So,
I mean, it's amazing.
what does the
No
Navy
red
have a
lights
lot
and
of young
everything
people?
else. That's what I know.
They're gonna do
The
it.
guy, it's kind of funny, he wants to get around, he's gonna do it.
We were all young ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it is now. I mean, there's a guy ran the whole Ruthven Road. He ran the whole thing. No, didn't stop at anything.
Stop.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, that happens all the time. They run red
Okay,
lights.
moving on.
All right, so I did want to bring attention to some changes in some of the intersections and some potential detours that we're going to have implemented here in this next year of the 1A project. So again, a lot of this is due to the bridge widening, having to construct new piers. It takes equipment, it takes cranes and lots of things. You got to dig a big hole and you got to drive pile. So one of the first ones we want to talk about is from I-564 east to Little Creek Road north. So that's going to start pretty soon. Dominic can probably tell you exactly when. So this is the off ramp from 564 onto Little Creek. So that left turn is not going to be possible while they do the bridge widening over Little Creek Road. So there's a few different ways you can get around it. One is to stay on 64 and come up to Tidewater and go north and then come back to get to there. So all of our detours, we're trying to get you right back to the place that we kept you from going to. So that's why it looks like a long detour. But I mean, if you're going here, then it's not quite as bad. So without this left turn, another option would be, and we're not publicizing this, but you all live here locally, so you probably know that you can actually stay on, or you can exit earlier. You can get on Admiral Tossig, come across here, and then you can still make that left off of Admiral Tossig by the old farm brush.
Yeah, but it's the people coming down 64 from the tunnel. They get, oh, no, that's right. You're right. That's too soon.
So if you took the Granby Street exit, you can come straight across.
They're making that left turn to drive down to past Sewell's Point Road, past SB
Going to
Boulevard.
West Ocean View.
Right, exactly.
Actually, there's a Food Lion down there.
Well,
way down there.
that's a lot of populace.
So that's one.
What turn sign there?
Well, will you put a sign there at that left turn?
There will be more signs here that
No. But would you put one of those electric turn to get off at?
Yep, that's a project department. Kind of like you've
Okay.
probably seen some of the ones that say traffic pattern on such
Right,
and such
right,
date.
right.
So it'll be one of those like that.
Okay.
All right.
All right, we'll let him finish. Let's go. This is sorry.
That's okay.
I'm
That's okay. I'm here for you. So the no left turn from Little Creek. So this is again, now if you're coming the opposite direction, if you're on Little Creek and you're coming this way, once you go the underpass under there and you want to get on 64 eastbound, that left turn will no longer be available either. So you can either go straight, come around here back to the Little Creek and Granby, come up and turn right onto that ramp. Or if you already know ahead of time that ramp is closed, you can make arrangements to get down to Tidewater and take that ramp that way.
So we're in late February now, so is that happening tomorrow?
Let me go to the end of this, and then I'll see if we can
fine.
get Dominic to help a little bit with the schedule.
Okay.
Okay, so late spring, if you're over at Tidewater Drive, I just said you could take this loop ramp here to 64 eastbound. If you're coming south on Tidewater Drive, that is going to close because of the widening for this bridge right here. This ramp will be too dangerous to continue to operate. So there is going to be a new left turn lane constructed in the median on Tidewater Drive that will allow you to turn left to get onto 64 eastbound. So
that makes sense.
that one's a little bit easier to explain and digest.
It should be permanent. Seriously.
I don't disagree with you.
Because when those people come out onto 64 and you got all that right lane traffic, oh my God, I've seen accidents there. Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Get rid of that exit right there.
That's fine. We're good. Okay, so late February, Dominic, are we still on track?
Yeah, so our paint doesn't like the rain, right? So as I was walking in here, I was getting rained on, so we're not painting anything tonight, right? So this is supposed to happen Sunday night now is our new date. Sunday night we'll be painting. Monday there'll be barrier there. You physically won't be able to turn it in if you wanted to. So between Sunday and Monday is when the first two detours that you see on that screen will happen. The Tidewater one is going to happen later this spring.
Excellent. Most if you cut down traffic.
Okay, so this is our plug for Hampton Roads Express Lanes and the Easy Pass. So one of the things that's coming up, if you've been down to the Greenbrier, Chesapeake area, high-rise bridge, you've noticed that the express lane has opened for the new project, but they're not tolling yet. The tolling is going to commence somewhere around March 17th. That's the current projected date. So that's when tolls will start down in the Chesapeake from into Bowers Hill and that area of I-64. At the same time, the reversible express lanes are going to have a switch where they go from only tolling 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the afternoon to those tolls are now going to be 24/7. It'll still change directions the same way it does now, but the tolling operation will be more frequent. There'll be less hours where it says open to all, no toll. Of course, if you have Easy Pass Flex and HOV2 Plus, you still have the no toll, but it does give you, again, Ryan talked about options. It gives you options to beat the traffic if it's looking pretty hairy in the general purpose lanes. I know for a lot of people here, the entry and exit into the express lanes doesn't work for your daily, everyday lives, but just something to be aware of. And I think that is it for the 1A update. Is there anything that for 1A, the area right around here, that you have any questions or concerns? We talked a lot about the traffic control, and we do appreciate your feedback. That's why we're here. If you were saying that we were perfect, I wonder if you were paying attention. So I really do appreciate that feedback.
So you're not an engineer.
So for the tunnel, you're coming from Hampton, or we're gonna start hitting that new part of it.
This way.
When are we gonna hit the new part? I know, because you're gonna have to get rid of the bridge section to make that work once you come through the tunnel. When is that section?
More like 2026.
Oh,
Late, let me get my math here right. Late 2025, I'm off. Late 2025.
okay.
Because that's a really tricky bit of work for us there, the south trestles.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sequencing that goes into play. We've got to do that, weave all those fingers in there, make it a little bit trickier, slow construction for us.
Okay.
Are you going to remove walls if I want to get on HRBT in Hampton, I want to get off of Tidewater Drive, or want to get off of the airport? Are you going to remove those HRBT walls?
So the reversible HOV lane right now, there will be one new entry point going westbound just past Tidewater. But there won't be any additional exit points from the reversible lanes. The part-time shoulder lane that I talked about, that'll run in the opposite direction of the reversibles, that will have additional ingress, get in, get out points on those. That'll be best kind of talked about when we have, kind of the ready to roll that out. I think if you're going towards the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, you will have, if you've got on at Little Creek or Granby, get on 64 West, you will have an opportunity to get into the HOV, HOT lanes before you get to the tunnel. But if you wait too long, you won't. There is a point where you can't get in the lanes for the tunnel anymore.
Just assuming you were going to the airport, you live in Portsmouth, pick the HRBT lanes, how would you get off to the airport if you're stuck with that?
Get on.
We would love to, ma'am, but the amount of right-of-way we would take and our ability to do that construction, we would have to do so much downtime on that existing network that it would it's cost proportionate. It's up to this team. If you guys see the video, we can send you the link.
Yeah, I
We
wanna
know we've
see
been
it.
running a little bit long here for you. We appreciate your
Huh?
hospitality and letting us come in and
I don't care.
chat up your meeting.
We know. Okay, well,
What is the subject of the video? What's
it's the
video?
concept of what the tunnel will look like when it's
The
finished.
entire facility, the
Yeah, I
9
would
miles.
like to do
Okay.
that.
Froze earlier, but it'll work this way.
All right, so this, you're leaving Hampton. We're all familiar with this traffic.
I see that every day.
Yes. So here you can see now we're going under Mallory Street right now. You can see that in each direction. Now again, the jump, this is exactly right. So you can see how much further off to the east our new bridges really are built. So significantly further up the harbor. Now as we jump into North Island, you'll see 15-acre island expansion there appears. Massive improvement that's already complete. So right now, we like to say here, you're going to jump into the tunnel. You will never drive it as fast as this video plays it. I'm sorry. If you jump up here on the Norfolk side, we're pretty close. And there is that. So you can see this 8-lane mega trestle set significantly further on the harbor side than what the current bridges are. But here we veer back around and we land directly, almost exactly in the same footprint that we're in today. Again, that right-of-way, minimal right-of-way take, extremely important for the project. Now this is going to push us all the way across. You can see widening of the Willoughby Bay bridges here to the exterior. We've already done a lot of this work on eastbound. We're doing a lot more on westbound right now. Something we're really excited about. And then as you jump down here, you can see those sound walls going up as we jump over 4th View and head further down into the corridor here. So this is dropping down to a street level view. You can see a lot of sound walls going up there. That's something that the public was very vocal about, that we wanted to respect.
So
this is-
going eastbound,
Yes.
on the 2 lanes on the left of the double line, is that the HOV lane?
Yes,
or-
ma'am. That's the hot, the toll or the hot. Yes, ma'am.
And then now there's none.
Now there's none. That's
No,
correct.
I mean, the very end
That
of the
was
video.
so cool.
there was none.
Is
The
that
very end of the
online?
video will tie into the work that Bill is doing. Well, so this video was very early on in
And
the
then there'd
project.
be no HOV.
Just keep.
No, it'll be
Wanted to
hot.
show you.
So,
Okay, because the striping.
Is it on the
yes, ma'am.
VDOT
This
site
video is
or
from
on the
about
city site?
2018,
Okay.
prior to us having the great pleasure of having Bill and his team come along and build
But
that.
when it's finished, the striping will remain.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
can just
That
scan
would
that
be
and it
one
goes
of the-
to our
about
project
that
site,
area is where you could get
and then
in
you
or
can see the
out
video on.
of the express.
Even with the hot lanes and going through the
But
tunnel, if there's a major accident, will they divert traffic from one tunnel to the other since you have the
That is
option?
a possibility. It is a
Or will
possibility,
they
yes, ma'am.
suffer?
What's that? It's a possibility. You can, so it's a possibility, and I will say
He's
one
in
of the.
charge of planning construction. The operations people are a different department.
Exactly. Yes, that is. But no, it's a possibility.
We're engineers.
Oh,
VDOT always looks at those possibilities, and it comes down to length, how long it's going to be in that configuration, time of the day, right? So we do take those things. The concept of operations is a massive part of what we do. And again, I'm just building it. Somebody else can decide how we toll it and how we
I like to
operate.
put that around at work too.
So with that, we know we completely hijacked your agenda. We're gonna get out
No,
of
it's all right.
here. We will stick around though in case you have any questions. We are more than.
We've
willing
had
to
some no-shows, so
answer
you did
them.
really good.
Oh,
So one thing I will,
that's a low bar.
one thing I will say, I have 2 plugs. When you call somebody on our phone line, you send an email, a real person picks that up. So if you call us at 2 a.m., you're talking to a real person. So please keep that in mind. We're here to help. You call at 2 a.m., likely somebody's going to answer, because I know Brooke does it for me regularly. She's a really great advocate we have. Our only ask of coming to this meeting today, and it's literally it, we'll ask of you guys, is as you're out there driving these corridors, you've met several of us, contractor, VDOT employees, consultants alike. I mentioned I got little kids at home, and I run up and down this corridor with boots and hard hat on. So put down your phone, slow down, drive safe, because we're working in this every day. We want to get home to our families. So keep that in mind. We'll call it an even trade.
Word.
We're happy to be here tonight. And again, we'll stick around if you have any other questions.
Thank you.
I had one for you. So where the 2 lanes that are HOV and then the 2 that are regular, and you said that you'd be able to get into the where the direction changes.
Yep.
Do those 2 lanes, do they automatically put you there, or can you bail and
No,
go?
you can move over to the right, especially if you want to take your Granby Street exit or.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I thought we were done.
No, I got just a few things because Martin had to go to the Algonquin meeting, but his heart is still here. So it's okay. From utilities that I got today. All right. Number one thing I was asking about wasn't the planned work on Newport, but it was the unplanned work on Little Creek. Everyone knows they've taken a lane westbound, right? So that's an emergency sewer repair job. So they say it had to go, basically close that down, and it's taken a bit, have to actually schedule the work and figure out what was wrong and diagnose it. So they said the repair work is supposed to start in another 2 to 3 weeks. They said traffic control will remain in place until then. And then when the contractor gets out there, it sort of depends on what they need to get the job done. So they will be, they should be sending out a project book with more information soon now that they've got some more details working. The planned work here on Newport with the Woods Corner Pump Station 150 Phase 7 project is, there he is. We're trying to get out of here before we made it. All right. But they say that work's going reasonably to schedule. The Newport Avenue water and sewer work is complete. They say traffic should open completely very soon in the next few weeks. I will say that I saw them dropping off a milling machine this afternoon, which means they're
I
about
did
to,
see, I
they're
did
about
see
to
that
dig
you
up
mentioned
the,
it, yeah.
you know,
I was walking my
rip up
dog.
the old pavement to put down new pavement. They got paving companies, contractors out there, so.
Yeah, one of the guys told me 2 years.
The part back in.
He didn't want to hear from me.
Because the project continues back into the apartments there along Warren Street and I think Harvard and whatnot. So that the project, that phase of the project is going to take another year or two to complete. But they're saying the Newport Avenue part, hopefully maybe by our next meeting,
No,
we're driving on
I have no G.
not
Oh.
war torn roads. Yeah.
It's okay.
Oh no, sorry, I take that back. It said the project actually is ahead of schedule and is anticipated to complete by the end of 2024. The whole thing. So, but anyway, but I think most people are worried about the Newport Avenue section. So that's an update literally as of a few hours ago from Rick Dempsey. Let me see. We did put some meeting notes that Karen Hayes over at neighboring Suburban Acres Civic League took at the task force meeting 2 and a half weeks ago. I think the general update, there's a couple things. One, NFK Norfolk 2050 is they're redoing the vision plan, comprehensive plan for Norfolk for the next, I guess it was 25 years. Martin has asked me to serve as the Ward 1 representative on that commission. I think there's 28 of us total, and they're having their first meeting like right now, so I'm missing it, but we'll catch up with them after. So anyways, that's a couple-year process to plan out the comprehensive plan for Norfolk for the next many years. That was kind of the good presentation at the task force meeting. Say lackluster presentation. We were, I could say, a bit disappointed with the lack of updates from the Parks and Recreation Department about this site and this facility and the redesign that's happening here. I would say, watching this presentation tonight, I'm reasonably confident that all of this road work is going to be done before a new building is here, which is not what we would have said 2 years ago. So, anyways, they've been asked to, the contractors is supposed to be selected this week. I believe it's by the end of this week, supposedly. Goes the report. We'll see if that happens. But we've asked them to come with their contractor to the next task force meeting and explain what the timeline is and what we're looking at. So we're looking at ways to accelerate where possible. And Martin, do you have any updates beyond that?
Did you say anything about, obviously I just got here, did you say anything about the Midtown Shopping Center?
I did not.
No, go
So
ahead.
I didn't mention
You're
any
up.
economic development.
You're up.
Buddy.
That's good news.
Everyone at Algonquin Civic League says hello. The Midtown Shopping Center, that is the white building with the blue awnings, right? Which where the Chipotle and the Book Exchange are located. That has new ownership. They finally sold it. It's a local group, and they all representatives today. And the good news is that they're turning away what I would call lower end tenants because they want to try to bring in some higher end tenants. So, considering the other tenants that we're trying to bring towards Corner, they want to try to complement that type of thing. Okay. So we have a retail specialist that we've hired in the economic development department in the city, and we've connected them to help them try to attract those higher end tenants. So we're excited about that.
So are they going to do improvements on the property? Or the tenants have to do the property?
We're waiting to see which direction that goes. The answer is we don't know yet.
Okay.
Right? We don't know whether it's going to require significant changes to the building. We're just waiting to see.
Okay.
So we don't have the answer yet. You talked about this building.
Yeah.
What else do I really want to talk about?
Target.
Nothing to talk
Not much to
about.
talk about.
The old Farm Fresh, do we know anything more about it?
They all want to know them.
That's fair. The old Farm Fresh building, I said last time, the Kroger is no longer paying on the lease at that building.
And so the ownership group, I think at this point has every interest in trying to sell it. There's rumors going around the local development community that various developers are in talks to try to buy it. I have not heard anything that's firm enough for me to believe yet. So hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. Clem.
See, I told you. I told you.
Did he say Target?
I've been asked not to comment on that. I'm sorry.
No comment. Anything else interesting? No?
Keep an eye on the Rite Aid. I think there's a lot of people eyeing that right now.
It's done.
So, private property. It's not big enough for Chick-fil-A, I asked. I heard
We
that.
couldn't stand that traffic on the creek anyhow.
Yes,
That would be a nightmare,
We do.
especially with everything else going on.
So I think that's all I've got. Running late. Any questions for me?
Thank you. Thank you for coming back.
Yeah.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right.
Okay, I think that's it. We do have our various committees. If you're interested in serving on one of the committees, Aaron is your best point of contact. And our next meeting will be March 18th, which is only in 3 short weeks, I think. Back here in.
That's a solid thing to do after St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
We'll see. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. And we will.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. You guys are calling.
Yeah, that was fun.